Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yes, I'm here. Oh, I can tell you moved that out of that room because it's a little more echoey.
Is it echoey? I was worried about that.
But I'm in an echoey room too, so we'll echo
Okay.
together.
Okay. Okay.
So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about you can't change what you hate.
You can't change what you hate.
No, you can't change what you hate.
That seems so obvious, duh, but you can't change what you hate.
No.
Gonna
What
go
are your
deep.
thoughts on that?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on that?
What am I? Oh, well, we're gonna have a whole episode to go in on the thoughts about it. You can't change what you hate. I mean, I guess it makes sense because at a very conscious level, if you hate something, you almost thrive in the hatred of it. Let that sink in a little bit. Like, I think some people get so caught up in, and we'll get hard here in a minute what we're talking about, but in the esoteric, get caught up in like identifying with their hatred of something, be it their body, be it a relationship, be it something in their life, that it becomes their identity. And I think if they try to change that, uh, they can't, because then they lose a part of themselves.
Already, like we just jumping in on this one,
We
aren't we?
we going
We
100.
just dive. Woo.
But it's true, like this whole idea, like when you brought up this topic about a month ago, we talked about doing this very topic for the week of New Year's. Hello everyone, by the way. One Step Deeper podcast, episode 5, and we are going deep. That's Brittany Davis, I'm Jimmy Moore. But yeah, we are going deeper on this one because everybody's thinking about New Year's resolutions and wanting to change something. I definitely don't want to see a 2020 ever again in my life. But 2021, guys, if you still hate your life, it ain't gonna be better.
Right. Right, absolutely. And this thought process is something that everybody in their life has gone through. They looked at something within themselves and said, "Well, I'm terrible. I'm horrible. I hate my body. I hate my mind. I hate, I hate, I hate." And maybe that in the beginning can push you to start changing, but it can never fuel you. And it goes back to what you were saying, that some people get so involved in the things that they hate about themselves, it becomes their identity. So as they start to change this, they start to lose their identity, and that just sends you in a whole other turmoil. That happened for me. So 2018, I started my weight loss journey, and I started it from a place of self-hate. I hated myself and I was ready to change and I was done. And so, yeah, in the beginning, that fueled the weight loss. And so when the weight loss came, um, I started to like myself more. But the only thing that I liked was that I was smaller, but I didn't love me. I didn't love myself. I wasn't changing from a place of love. I still hated myself until when I got to the end of my goal and I'm standing in the mirror going, I still hate myself. What now? And I went on this whole what the crap. And that's kind of what has led me to where I am now, in being self-aware and pushing self-love and getting away from this mindset of hating yourself. That's why I am where I am now, because of that. I lost myself through that journey. Because you do.
Yeah, and even along the journey, there could be a turning point where you find yourself, you identify with the new version of you, you see that version clearly, and then you run with it. Most people that have gone through a weight loss journey, I did too, you can identify that there is kind of this moment when you realize you've got more confidence, you like how you look and everything. But I don't know, does it have to be this consciousness of wanting to like love and not hate yourself anymore? Or that, like you said, that hate drives you for a period of time, but at some point it's going to discourage you, even though you're in a much better place than you were before.
Yeah. Sorry, the video was catching up there for a second. I was listening back. So when it comes to like, yes, along the journey, you can have those moments that just kind of bring you back into it. And I don't think that it's ever possible to walk through, unless you're a narcissist, to walk through every single day loving every part about yourself, every part of your body, every part of the what you think. It's impossible to be that way. It's impossible. And
Right.
so I aim and I like thinking if I cannot love myself today, I want to be neutral about myself. So I'm not hating on myself. I don't look in the mirror and hate everything that I see. I might not be happy with something that I see. And so I'm just going to be neutral. This is a part of my body. This is a part of my mind. This is a part of me. And I'm not going to feel any kind of way about it. I'm not going to feel overtly happy. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm just going to stay neutral for today and work my way towards a different view of it.
Can you talk about that more? Because, and I know what you're talking about when you say be neutral, not hating, not loving, just kind of in the middle. How do you put your mind there when every inkling in your body wants to be critical, and every inkling in your body ideally wants to be positive? How do you get in that center position?
A practice, you know, practice of, I like to do this one exercise. I like to look at myself in the mirror. It doesn't make me a narcissist, but I like to see myself. When I start going down these loops of hating on myself and hating what I look like and hating where I am in life and just mad at the world and I want to change something, I look at myself in the mirror and I remember all of the shit that I've been through. I remember the things that I've overcome. And even thinking on those things, I can't always be happy that those things happened to me. I can't always be thankful that those hard times came. Some days I can. Some days I'm thankful that I am a different person because of what happened to me. Some days it's too hard to revisit that. So I go into it, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm just not happy, but not sad either. I just try to be, just try to exist where I am right now and just be present in this very moment and accept where I am.
This whole idea of hating yourself, I'm going to ask this, but I'm going to kind of give my own thoughts as well. Of, is it a learned behavior? Is it something environmental that, because of circumstances in your past, because of, I guess, things people said to you, is it learned, or is this a personality trait? We're going to talk about enneagrams in a future episode. Does that play a role? Because for me, sometimes I look at people who have that whole, I hate myself, I hate this, I hate this about my life, and it's just all this gloom and doom, and I'm just thinking, don't, just don't. And I don't understand, I can't wrap my head around it, why they choose, it seems in my mind, choose to stay in that place of hate, and then they lament why they can never change.
Yeah, I 100% believe that it is a learned behavior, whether learned directly by watching someone close to you or around you have those same kind of behaviors, or whether someone said something to you that made you, when we're a child, when someone does something to hurt us as a child, we never, at that point in our lives, in our brains, we can only accept the fact that we have done something wrong. Therefore, we turn it on ourselves. As children, it's very hard for children to look at their abuser, to look at the person that has hurt them or said something to them and blame them. They always turn the blame on themselves. And so it's something that I know I started that at a young age, of that self-hate just being fueled by, God dang, can I do anything right in my life? Because everything was always wrong in somebody else's eyes. And taking into the fat personality traits, I think certain personalities are definitely harder on themselves. Your type eights, they're kind of your hard asses, and they're pretty fueled by themselves, and they're okay most times within themselves. Ones have a huge inner critic. They really don't need anybody else's help. So, exactly, I'm a one. Um, they have a huge inner critic. So when anybody else says anything to them, like it just exacerbates it that much more because we're already so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we definitely need to do this Enneagram
Yeah.
episode next
Boom.
week. On that for next week, because that'll be the first week of the new year, and we'll start off with a bang. Because yeah, we talk about it so often. It'll be nice to have the concept of it down, so people don't go 1, 8, 9 plus carry the one. I don't know what you're talking about. You will stay tuned, guys. But it's an incredible topic to think about, like wanting to change, which is what everybody does this time of year. Want to change. And it's like, okay, but do you?
Yeah.
Because if you did, you would kind of set your mindset in that frame. And I think that's why so many people fail when they make a New Year's resolution, or when I'm going, by golly, Monday morning, I'm going to start my diet again. How many of us have done that bullshit? Um, and, and you have all this kind of internal faux energy towards that. But if you still hate,
Exactly.
what's that?
Exactly. Hate can give you a false sense of purpose. I hate myself, therefore that's going to propel me to reach my goals, when in reality, even if you do happen to get to the end of your goal, whatever that is, fueled by hate, I can guarantee you it will not last. It won't last, because even if you look in the mirror and you've gotten to where you want to get in your mindset or in your job, and you've gotten that promotion, or you've lost the weight and you've done whatever, when you get to the end, if you no longer have that a hate, that thing to identify yourself by, then you kind of fumble. And so it can't sustain you. Hate cannot sustain you in life.
Well, and you think about like energy that comes from being in a positive mindset and a loving mindset versus energy from a negative and hateful kind of mindset. Like it's night and day. Like I've lived most of my 20s in a negative, hateful energy, because I was dealing with the aftermath of my trauma. And it wasn't until my early 30s till I got to that point where that finally subsided. I'm trying to remember what the impetus was for that. I think in my heart, I finally forgave the abuser. And for me, that started working in me. I still had to deal with some more things in my 30s and now into my 40s. But for me, that was the turning point. And so maybe part of this discussion we're having today is identify what it is that's making you have that hate in your heart to begin with, because a lot of people go through their life with it and then they don't even ever identify why they have it to begin with.
Yes. So a good, I think we had a bonus episode on this. A good practice that you can do when you find something in yourself that you want to change, find your why. Find that. And so, and what I mean is, like, you just keep why. So if yours is, I want to lose weight. Okay, well, why do I want to lose weight? Well, I hate myself. Okay, well, why do I hate myself? Well, I hate myself because of this thing. Okay, well, why? And you just keep going deeper and deeper. And typically it takes about 7 times to get to that point. Maybe some more, maybe you need to dig a little deeper. But typically it takes that to actually get to the why. And again, when people just go that one step deeper, it's not going to fuel you long term. You just have to keep going and going and going until you get the bottom line, and that bottom line can propel you forward.
We need to rename that the Toddler Method, because a 2-year-old, what do they do? Why? Why? Right?
Like, I like that one. I like that one. That one's good. Two, when it
As
comes to talking about goals and goal setting and this time of year, and I mean, it's notorious, and I don't want to discourage anybody from creating goals. I think everybody should have goals, and not just goals within your body. Please set goals outside of your body. Please do that for yourself. um but when we set goals, a lot of us look at social media, a lot of us look at the people around us, and when we're setting goals, we always look at ourselves and think, well, I hate myself because I'm not normal. And it kind of puts us, if we're on a race, the race of life, and you see everybody else as ahead of you already, you think, well, if I do this, I'm only trying to get to normal. And so it puts you behind. It puts you behind the life. And in this mindset, you're like, well, I'm already behind. Why do I even start? And hate cannot fuel you from this point into that next point of feeling normal.
Yeah. And I mean, hate's not natural. Like, think about that for a second, guys. I remember hearing about it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. And it's the same thing. It takes a lot more physical, emotional, let's even throw in spiritual energy to come at a place of hate. And yet, so many people live there, stay there, and then they wonder why they have stress on their body. They wonder why they're always kind of getting just so far in life and then not going forward, and not realizing that a lot of it has to do with their decision. And I'm going to keep repeating this. If you hate yourself, if you hate something about what you do, that's your choice. You're choosing to do that. And the people, oh, I wish I could achieve, I wish I could do this. And I think back in my own life, like, this is triggering a lot of things for me. I always felt like I had more to offer, like an employee. And I was about your age, and I was in my 20s, and I'm working my butt off, and I feel like I'm running circles around everybody around me. I feel like I have skill sets that could be used, but I was never getting job promotions. I was never getting those opportunities that I thought I was deserving of. And now I realize I was coming at it from a place of hate, hate for myself. I was covering up. Ooh, listen to this, guys. I was covering up my hatred of myself with my pride in my work, with working hard enough to prove you wrong. And I still have those tendencies because I am a type 3 Enneagram. Um, and desiring that praise that comes from all that. And yeah, it wasn't until I let go of some of those things that then the success started.
Yeah, yep. You know, within myself, hate, especially within my personality type, hate kind of fuels Enneagram 1. It kind of fuels them of, well, I hate myself because I'm not this, I'm not that, and you're so hard on yourself. And yeah, I mean, you just kind of get lost in it.
Well, and then it becomes this loop for one, because you already have that kind of judgmental inner critic within you. So if you get just a little inkling, just a little spark of some hate, that spark just suddenly becomes a bonfire of hatred that then, I don't know, how do you break the loop?
I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking on this, and this is just a different, this is kind of calling myself out and all my fellow ones. Um, we almost have a self-righteous mindset of, well, I hate myself, therefore I'm humble because I don't like XYZ about myself, and I'm humbled, and everybody else that thinks, oh, they're high and mighty, you know, I'm so hard on myself. It's almost a self-righteous thing. That was new. Just sitting there diving in on that because I do think about that, like as you were talking about yourself and like, oh, you deserve to get this because you did this, this, and this. And whereas my mindset would be, well, I'm not perfect, so I don't deserve this. And that sounded kind of self-righteous, Jimmy. But in reality, I'm the one that's being self-righteous, thinking of, oh, I'm humble because I hate myself. But is that the truth?
Man, we are so complex as human beings, and we allow ourselves to go down these roads in our head. And it's all right here, guys. Like, everything we talk about on One Step Deeper, it right here. Because if you turned all this off and there was nothing that was like input, output, you would have a boring life, number one, but you wouldn't have all this like distress about decisions and choices and how you feel. And yeah, it's a rabbit hole we're going down today.
Yeah, definitely so. So shifting back to that though, all right. So you know, and you've recognized in yourself, you hate yourself. You've also recognized you want to change something. Well, how do you break that? You know, how do you break that self-hate and translate it into something else that can get you far in life? So an exercise, you know me, I always love those self-challenges to challenge you. When I used to be a weight loss coach, I would make every single one of my clients do this as like the first thing. Like, you know, you want to get to know me, this is it. I would make them go into a mirror. The bigger the mirror, the better. The more of your body you can see, the better. I would make most people who start a weight loss journey, they hate themselves. They don't like what they look like and they want to change it. And so I would make them go in the mirror and I'd tell them, all right, say everything that you have to say. All the ugliness, let it out. Scream at yourself, yell at yourself, tell yourself you're worthless. Let it out. Tell all of it, okay? Get it out of your brain. Let it quit swirling. Say it out loud to yourself looking in the mirror. I do this. I still do this. And what happens? I'm crying because, I mean, it hurts. It hurts to hear those things. And even from yourself, it still hurts. And so when you're done, you get it all out. You take a deep breath and you turn around, all the way around, and face the mirror again. And I dare them. Okay, that person you just beat the shit out of, that person you just beat the shit out of mentally, now you get to uplift them. So now say all the good things about yourself. Make yourself think of all the good things that you've done, all the good things and all the things that you love about yourself. Start feeding in on that and never go back to that other person. Never go back there. And so every time you look in the mirror, even if you start that same process of I hate myself and all of those things, turn around, start over. It just kind of jolts your mind as, all right, we're turning this around. Physically turn your body around. It feels ridiculous. Physically turn your body around and start loving the hell out of yourself. I don't like this about me, but I love me and I am going to do better for myself.
I have found myself over the years going back down that road of the negative, hateful spiral. And so has my best friend, because I've heard her on calls lately expressing thoughts that I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you've overcome that. Why is that back there again? I don't know if you want to share any of that, but for me, it's just, there are moments when you start to doubt some of the new things you're telling yourself. And that's going to be normal, guys. Like if you run into this and you're like, oh yeah, all right, Jimmy and Brittany's got me all gung-ho. I'm going to change my mindset. It's going to be positive. No more hateful thoughts. And then whammo, bammo, you wake up, stuff starts going wrong. You start to go down that deep, dark path in your head because, oh yeah, by the way, guys, it's a default up here now. It's a default until you can somehow change the default to something positive. That negative, hateful thought that prevents you from getting to the change that you want, it's the default that when all your sensibilities about you are lowered and you're under stress and things happen in your life, you're going to go right back there again.
Yes. And so you have to work. It's a muscle. It's a muscle that you have to stretch and continue to build over time. So this very podcast that we're on right now, if I didn't have you, it might not be here because I'm so hard on myself and I doubt myself. And if it's not perfect, I won't do it. And so I have wanted to start a podcast on my own, or I've wanted to do this other project that you and I are working on for a long time. And every time I might get really excited about it to begin with. And then as that excitement just kind of fades and I have to start putting the work in and my perfectionist tendencies start to, and I start hating on myself and hating, then I just turn it off because I say to myself, well, I'd rather not hate myself, so I won't do anything at all. I'd rather not be so hard on myself, so I won't do anything at all. And so this podcast is a huge place for me in that imposter syndrome. And I tell myself, and you weeks, over the last couple of weeks, well, I'm not good enough for this. And that's another hate spiral, really. Of, I'm not good enough for this, and I'm not this, and I'm not that. And you're just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Where did this come from?
Yeah, and with this other project we're working on that we haven't talked about yet, but we will in due course, you guys, is the same thing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, just keep doing it. What do you mean you don't know what you're doing? Just keep doing it, because when the time comes, it's all going to come together. Because for me, I see, especially this podcast, I see how to take it, where to go, because I've been down this road. And I think having someone in your life, it helps we're friends as well, but someone in your life who can kind of mentor for you, that you can come at it from a different place than you're thinking. Like, I have perfectionist mindset and things, but not near like you do. And especially with something that's familiar to me as podcasting and this other project we're working on, I have lots of experience with that. So I can say, hey, look, you're on the right path. This is exactly what I went through. And yeah, I think sometimes the newness of things can send people down that path of destruction. And think about this. Think about all the people who could be making a difference in the world with ideas of wanting to do it, but because they come at it from a place of hate and I can't do that, I'm not qualified, who am I to be doing a podcast? And how much are we being robbed of what they could be giving us? I've had so many people write me and say, where's this Brittany been? I'm like, I know, because you're amazing, and I wanted them to see you, and took a venue of something that I can do in my sleep, podcasting, to get you out there. Then I'm glad you're out there now.
Yeah, I've been at my house hating myself. That's where I've been. Doing what I do best, right? Yeah, exactly. Just and so breaking that cycle, it's been crazy. Touching back on what you're saying about having a friend, I have given permission to mostly three, but I have a fourth kind of backup. I have given them all permission to slap me in the face with their words. That's the best way to put it. Call me out on my shit. Don't sugarcoat. I am not a sugarcoat person. And I like people to be understanding with me, but at the same time, sometimes I need somebody to call me on my bullshit. So when I start down the hate spiral, my husband, I already told this story. I was in the mirror doing my hate thing, doing the thing that we learn as kids, specifically women. I know men do it as well, but I think maybe it's more prevalent within women. And so I was doing my thing, looking in the mirror, and I was hating on myself. And he just kind of grabs me and he's like, stop talking about my wife like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And then my 8-year-old kind of jolted me into reality. You do it unknowingly sometimes. You hate on yourself unknowingly. And it's good to recognize that my 8-year-old had come in my room one day and was kind of looking in my mirror, doing the same kind of thing that I did. And she's like, Mom, I just need to work out. And she started grabbing on her stomach. And I was like, oh, oh no, my child has learned from me. Oh no, that song just coming to mind. Oh goodness. And that was really my wake up point of, all right, I might not always love myself, but I can't continue down this path. I can't show that to my children. And I can't, my husband's right. If he sits there and talks about himself that way, I'll do the same thing. Like, shut up, man. That's my husband. I love my husband. How dare you talk about him that way? And so, yeah, Jimmy, you're one of those that have the permission to call me on my bullshit.
And I do, unapologetically. And
Yes.
vice versa. You call me on mine all the time too. Damn it. Yeah, I know. Because we have our moments, don't we? But you hit on something there I want to underscore. Because when we hate ourselves, we think it's only about us. It's not only about us. If you're married, that spouse, you're that wife to Wildman. You're mommy to Cammy who looked at herself in the mirror. You're a lot of roles. You're the best friend to Jimmy Moore. Like, don't talk about my friend like that. Don't make me hurt you with a wet noodle. And we don't think of it in that terms. We always think about, well, this is my life and I can hate if I want, and not realizing that there's other people involved.
Yeah, and I mean, it hurts me when you start talking bad about yourself. It hurts me because you're my friend. And when my husband talks about, I don't know how he has put up with me talking so disgusting about myself for so long, because he can say one thing and I will jump on him like a spider monkey. I can't stand it. I'm like, no, that's my Chris Davis. That is my wow man. Don't you dare. Like, I just go into like mama bear mode. I can't stand it. And I guess because I've done it so hard to myself that I can recognize it very quickly in other people. And I never, ever want other people to experience what I've experienced with how much self loathing I've carried over the years.
How much awareness do you think people have that they're hating on themselves? Because I think sometimes it becomes so normal that you don't even recognize you're doing it.
Yes, it's literally taught to us. It's something that you just do. I mean, when you look on TV and maybe not someone is going, "Oh, you should hate yourself." It's never that. It's these subliminal messages of you're not good enough. One that we hear often, it just popped in my head is, "Oh, you'd be so much prettier if you lost weight."
Oh,
You know? And that's one of those backhanded things that people say, and that teaches you to hate yourself when you hear something like that, because that's basically them saying, well, you'd be so much more worthy if you were smaller. And so it's literally taught to us. These things are said over and over and over again of, oh, you have such a pretty face, and implying that your body is ugly. We hear these things. It's taught to us.
I wonder how much of that then you hear those things and then those things get reinforced by your own beliefs. And then you hear someone else say something, and then that it just becomes this, gets buried deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious, to the point that then it becomes who you are. And people identify, that's who I am because everybody says it. And I say it about myself, and all these people say it. It must be true. Nobody's refuting it anywhere, so it has to be true.
Yes, absolutely. And I've hated myself. I hated myself for so long that it affected my relationships. So my mother-in-law is an extremely confident person. And I have since learned to love and accept her right where she is. And I've just let a little bit of Mary rub off of me because I needed a little bit of it. But she doesn't hold self-hate. She's been through hell in her life. And she's like, hell yeah, I've been through that. And I'm strong as hell. And she's just a bad bitch. I love Mary. But I haven't always, because I was jealous of her. I was jealous of that because I just hated myself so much no matter which way I turned and which way I looked. And so hating yourself, it can't feel change. What else has it? It can destroy your relationships around you. It can destroy how other people see themselves. Like, hate is just this fuel that fuels the wrong kind of fire.
Well, and it's an energy, so I guess we get fueled by that, but we don't recognize always that it's not leading us down a good path. Like fire, just to give an example, fire can be destructive or it can be helpful. If you're trying to cook something and make a little fire and put a little stuff, and all this, it's good in that aspect. But if the fire spreads and is allowed to just go unabated, it's destructive in the worst way. So the fire in and of itself, the hate, like you said earlier, can fuel you to a degree, but at some point it will consume you.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes when you get to that point of it's just all consuming, it's really hard to come back from that point. When it's just overtaking your life so much that it's now shown up in all of your relationships. I believe that people hate themselves out of good marriages. I think people hate themselves out of good relationships with their children. They hate themselves out of ever taking care of their bodies. because they hate themselves so much that they can't come out of that mindset. And so they just sit there fueling that fire. And like you said earlier, they find identity within that self hate and self loathing. And that's just how they walk through life.
So if somebody's recognizing themselves in what we're talking about here today, that's you. I see you there. Don't think we don't see you out there, because we've been there. Both Brittany and I have been there, and we still have our moments. It's not like, oh, you've arrived and you never hate yourself ever again. Yeah, screw that. We still do, because Brittany and I walk each other off the ledge all the time with this. But there's people that do it a lot, and that might be you guys out there watching this or listening to this on the podcast. It's something we just want to make you self-aware. Just recognize the things that are happening in your own life and realize that they're not serving a good purpose. Are there signs people can be on the lookout for? Is it the self-talk? Is it, that they're saying things? It's got to be more than just that.
It shows up mostly in that way. I'm really fidgety today. I apologize for that. I had a coffee right before. I'm just a little fidgety. I think, yes, the self-talk is one of the easiest ways to recognize it, to be aware of what you're saying to yourself. Also, if you are a mom or a dad and you notice it in your children and you notice it in the people around you, it's also a good indicator of just recognizing that, all right, this is an issue. All right, I am hating myself. All right, it is affecting my everyday life.
I wonder how much of a sign that everybody seems to be getting along in their life except for me, that kind of like feeling all alone and that kind of fatalism about life. That could be another sign that people could be on the lookout for. If it seems like the world's against you, I know people that they feel like the world is against them, and that has to be yet another sign of this.
Oh, absolutely. If you're walking around life thinking, oh, everything's happening to me, and why is everything bad happening to me, and oh, woe is me. If you're in a woe is me, and listen, I was in hella woe is me at the beginning of this year, so much. If you're in that state, chances are you're hating on yourself.
Well, and rightfully so for you, by the way. Those of you that are just joining us for the first time, she nearly died earlier this year. And so you had a little bit of an excuse, but you got out of it. And you realized how grateful you were to be alive. And you still are grateful to be alive. So that fuels, I think, gratitude, which we talked about previously on the Stop Shooting Yourself episode. Gratitude covers up a lot of this hate for yourself, because it's hard to be grateful with a hateful heart as well.
Absolutely. And I think the opposite of hate is gratitude. And so I'm an examples person. Y'all probably know that by now. And so, example wise, beginning of the year, I did almost lose my life, and I lost a lot of weight being in the hospital, and I was really sick. And throughout this year, I just kept gaining and kept gaining and kept gaining no matter what I did. And I just started hating on myself and hating where I was. But if you switch that, and I know a lot of people have gained weight this year, it's been a hard year. And people are so down on themselves about it. But if you switch it and be thankful that your body survived, your body did what it was meant to do, and it survived. And sometimes survival mode means gaining some weight. Sometimes survival mode means holding on for dear life to anything. And we've all been in that survival mode, and we have got to stop hating ourselves. And if I hear one more person say, I'm going to get my body back, I'm going to lose my mind, because where the fuck did your body go? It didn't go anywhere. Your body supported you through the hardest year that I have ever been through. I don't know about anybody else. This is the hardest year. Bianca's coming out. This is the hardest year I've ever been through in my life. How dare I look at myself in the mirror and go, oh, I'm going to get my body back next year. No, my body didn't go anywhere. My body did what it was supposed to do. Your body did what it was supposed to do. Your mind did what it was supposed to do this year and protected you from the onslaught of pure turmoil we have been through this year. No, just stop hating yourself. Just please, please stop it. Okay, I think I'm good now.
I'm gonna go hide from Brianka. She scares me.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I mean, preach it. Like, and I can't say I haven't had those thoughts myself of I want to get my body back. I don't like where I am at. And you can definitely have a positive or a negative thought about that. You know what? It's been a tough year. I wish I had a smaller body. All right, I'm going to put in the effort, da da da. That's coming at a place from a positive and or neutral position. Man, I hate this body. Oh my God, the belly's back. Oh my gosh, I've put on X number of pounds. I'm a horrible person. How could I let this happen? Woe is me. Woe is me. It's the same situation, but just two different ways to look at it.
Absolutely. And listen, I have looked this very year, not that long ago. I looked at myself with such self hate. I started back an eating disorder that I thought I had broken. Like, I went back down that path. I hated myself so much that I felt the need to self harm myself to be better. That's not what it was. It wasn't a path of better. It was just, I was so fed up with where I was. But again, that hate can't fuel you. So I had to go back and unlearn all those things and unlearn all of those things. When I get angry at myself and I think and I'm down on myself, that doesn't make me want to do better. That just makes me feel like shit even more.
Yeah, and you were there pretty hard a couple weeks ago. It was bad because things started to happen that you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And that fatalism comes in strong. But you survived that. You got on the other side of that and you're in a better place now. And life's still uncertain in a lot of ways with that issue that had you upset a couple weeks ago. But you have the right mindset about it. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're saying here on this episode is put your mindset in the right place. Now, you're not always going to be there 24/7. You're going to have moments when you have fleeting thoughts of negativity and where you want to feel bad. That's okay. Like, don't misunderstand us that in and of itself is not the bad thing. It's when you go there and you have that hatred for yourself, you beat yourself up. We are our own worst critics. And it doesn't take an Enneagram 1 to be your own worst critic. Everybody can be their own worst critic. Um, and at the end of the day, you have to just realize you're worth more than that. You're worth putting in the effort to not go down that path because it's never led to anything good.
Yeah, we got to stop letting the merry-go-round of hate just spiral us. When you get on, you're just so dizzy you can't even walk straight because there's just so much hate going on. So, I mean, you just got to put your foot down and say, okay, I don't like where I am. And you can be neutral about that. I'm not asking you to look at your body and complete self-love and love exactly where you are. But look at it from a place of neutrality of this is it. This place, this person, this mind, this has supported me for now, but I want better. And just 1% every single day. You don't have to change everything overnight. Matter of fact, please God, don't write down a list of things for you to change overnight. It's not going to work. You're going to get exhausted. It's not going to work. Pick one thing, and work on that one thing and then add. So if your goal is weight loss, start with food. Don't try to change your diet and exercise all at one time. Don't go from drinking no water to a gallon of water. Don't do that. Don't do that. Take one step at a time. One step at a time doing this. And so if today is the day you decide I'm going to stop hating myself, you don't have to look in the mirror and say all the good things that you did. That might be hard.
And why can't that be the resolution? Make it a New Year's resolution to stop hating yourself. Then anything else you want to do as a goal, how do you not achieve it?
Right, right. Yeah, I don't make New Year's resolutions at all. I kind of loathe them. The past few years, I have picked a word of the year, and that is how I go about. And so anything I do that year goes back to that word. 2 years ago, my word was learn. And I spent all year learning everything I could about anything and everything. I learned everything I could about keto, which is what I was doing at the time. I got a certification to coach. I took courses on Groupon. I don't know if anybody know, you could take like courses for $5 on Groupon. It doesn't lead me anywhere other than I was just learning. I just soaked up knowledge all year long. This year, my word of the year was elevate. And I was unaware that elevate, picking that word meant I had to start at the bottom in order to elevate for the rest of the year. But I think looking back on this day, December the 22nd, 2020, I think I elevated this year. So it worked out. And I haven't really picked my word of the year for next year. But yeah.
Well, from almost dead to now, yes, you quite elevated. Um, I think next year's word for you is alive. Alive and well.
Yes, yeah. So resolutions aren't really my thing, but if you are about that and you want to make a resolution, good. I'm proud of you. That's the start. That is the start. But when you're making New Year's resolutions this year, you're making stances to move forward in your life. Try as hard as you can to not come from a place of hate and love yourself to better.
Love is hard, and I want people to know that when you, it's easy to hate, which sounds so weird. You would think, no, 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 it'd be hard, but no, it's kind of like it takes more muscles to frown than
Yeah.
it does to smile. Like think about hate. It's not hard to hate, but to love, it can be a little bit challenging, but it's worth the effort to put in. Um, and I feel like that when I try to do that for myself and I'm conscientious of it and I'm doing all the things to kind of pursue that direction, I see nothing but good things come out of it. And maybe that's the mindset that before you go into trying to shift away from the hate, think about what the end game is on the other side of it. I'm doing this because of this really big thing. So I'm putting in the effort. Let's go back to weight loss because that's an easy one. Put in the effort to not hate my body because I know if I love myself where I am all through this journey, it's more likely than not that I'm going to be successful after I lose 50 pounds or whatever. Um, and that makes sense. Whereas if I stay in this loathsomeness, I'm going to be one of the statistic that drops out of my New Year's resolution within 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You were talking earlier about hate being a choice and that love is hard, and I 100% agree. Love is hard, but love is a choice. And this kind of goes in on a different theory of mine. We won't go down that path today. We'll save that for another episode, but love is a choice with your spouse, with your children, with anybody that's around. It's not a feel good feeling. Love is fucking hard. It's hard. It's a conscious choice that you have to make every single day to love the people in your life when they may not treat you the best. And so, in order to do that with yourself, it's the same way. It's hard as hell to love yourself, especially if you're being so hard on yourself for so long. Yeah, it's definitely a hard path to take, but life's going to be hard either way. So, sorry.
And I think back on my 20s because that's when I really kind of hate in my life. And again, like we said earlier, for me, it was triggered by what happened to me when I was a teenager. And I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of woe is me-ism, let's just put it that way, of, hey, I've had a hard life. I'm owed this hate, which was so fucked up on so many levels. But that's how I lived my life for a long time. And it had ramifications. Like I think back now at the age I'm at now, and I think, wow, like so much of my life I wasted. And people are going to regret that as well. Listen to this, watching this episode of, wow, like you're making me think about my own life of how much of my life has just passed me by because I didn't choose away from hate. I chose to hate, and I'm living with the consequences of it. It's kind of like that deadbeat boyfriend that is a pain in the butt and is useless, but you stick around because it's familiar. And I think the hate becomes that familiar boyfriend that you just can't let go of.
Yeah, like, wow. We've been talking about self and self-hate, but you know, it can go within your relationships too. With that, like you said, with that boyfriend that just hanging on to that boyfriend, that spouse, that whatever, that at least there's some familiarity there with that feeling, just processing that.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens more than we realize. I think people enjoy familiar, even if it's miserable familiar. They love the familiar, and because familiar, you know what's coming. There's no unexpected. But when you shift away from familiar and you take a step of faith in another direction, even though it could grow you in exponential ways, you tap a step of faith towards something that you want, but it's scary as hell because you've not been there before. That takes a lot of courage for people to do, which is why you don't really see people make bold moves. Bold moves to step away from something not serving you well is part of getting away from yourself.
Yeah, people get lost in it. You get lost in it. I was smiling because recently I had a family member come to me and they were venting to me about another family member, and they were saying, "I just don't understand. She's just so much drama. She just has to have drama in her life." And I let her vent. I let her get it out because she seemed very passionate. And I was like, "All right, now I want you to take a second and realize that's her comfort zone. That's her comfort place. She has been in chaos her entire life, that now in her adult life, she only knows how to function in chaos, and chaos is her normal, and she will go out of her way to create chaos so that she feels comfortable. And so getting out of that spiral of self-hate, it is stepping out of your comfort zone. Hate is probably your comfort zone. So me and Jimmy bringing this up to you, telling you stop hating yourself, you're just like, I don't know about that. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, and I think this whole idea of loving the familiar is where people get into trouble. It's what keeps people in bad relationships. It's what keeps people at jobs they loathe. It's what makes you do things that, but for the familiarity of it, you would never consciously do, but you do anyway. And yeah, that's another whole episode we could talk about of all the
Yeah.
things that we do just because they're familiar, not because they're serving us well.
Yeah. Mm. Sorry, all of us just kind of processing there.
Yeah,
That was
that's
unexpected.
lots to ruminate on in this episode, which is what I love about this show. We go one step deeper, but we go, like we've said before, lots of steps deeper because this is real life stuff. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where people are living their lives and trying to figure things out and not always feeling comfortable going there, which is why I go there, guys. I want to go there for you guys to get you to think in that direction. And let us know, by the way, if something we say on the show triggers something in you and you've changed, or you realize something that maybe you never realized before. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. Definitely reach out to us through the Instagram page, One Step Deeper Podcast, or the Facebook page, One Step Deeper Podcast Community. Just look us up, and of course at One Step Deeper podcast.com. But yeah, this is a toughie because we want to be better, but we don't always want to do the things that put us in the position to be better.
Oh, people love change. People love it. but they don't want to change.
Yeah, I love what you said there. They want the change, but they don't want to change.
Right. They people love change. They love newness. But if it requires that they change something about themselves, I mean, you think about it, if you have a group of people, you're like, yeah, we want change. Woo-hoo. But if you ask them, or if you say, who wants change? Who wants to change? It's hard. Now, me personally, I've gotten to a place in my life where I welcome it. I'm like, I love it. Within myself, I don't like my environment to change very much. I don't like that kind of messes with me. But like, I love the challenge of thinking deeper and going deeper and learning more about myself.
Change to me, Brittany, is opportunity. Change to
Yeah.
me is, wow, I can blank slate this bad boy, and I can pretty much be whatever I want to be under that new auspice. And that scares some people because, again, familiarity is where people live. But there's other people, personalities that go, they'll change every day if they could. So there's kind of this happy medium between those two extremes. But yeah, for me, I have framed change as a new beginning, an ability to be and do things that, but for this change, I would never be able to do.
Absolutely. And speaking of change again, you don't have to wait till Monday. You don't have to wait till January 1st. You don't have to wait till some arbitrary day. Like just right now, watching Jimmy and I right now, wherever you are, whatever day of the week it is, whatever moment you're in, it can be June 17th, whenever. Right now. You don't have to wait for some specific day or time or place, or you don't have to wait for your life to look a certain way. You don't have to be in a certain location. None of that matters. It's right now. This is the only opportunity that you have right now. This is it. Pick it.
And if you're watching this or listening to it on June the 17th, you're welcome. This is your sign from God.
Yes, exactly. Pick up right now and decide, all right, this is it. I'm done hating myself. This is the moment. This is my moment. And if you want to make that change and you still can't quite see it, hey, I'm always available. Becoming dot Brittany Lee on Instagram. Message me. I am always available to chat with you, talk with you, whatever you need. I am there. I love to do that. I love interacting with people. It's really helped me on my journey to be able to interact with other people and help them.
And get ready, guys. She don't play. Like, you write to her, she gonna challenge you. She gonna go a whole lot of steps deeper. I promise you.
Yeah. Brittany don't play. Brittany don't deal with that stuff.
No, you and I talk many times a week, and we don't really mess around when we talk. It's even deeper than what we do on the show. We're a little bit polished on the show, just so it's a formal show. But when you and I really just talk, we go in a lot of directions. So it's kind of cool. I love it. Well, Miss Brittany, we definitely need to do the Enneagram. So why don't we plan that for next week?
Yes.
We will talk all about Enneagrams. Guys, she is an expert at this. And if you're not familiar, what's the website that has the eclecticenergies.com?
Yes, eclecticenergies.com has the test, and take the first one. There's two different options. You can take both. I suggest the top one. It's the longer. It's really long. It's worth it, I promise. Eclectic Energies.
Yeah, and the reason we're telling you about it now is go take it now so that when we come back next week and we start
Yeah.
talking about it, you know what your Enneagram is. And we should maybe even think about doing a live show and invite people on and have them share their numbers so that then we could, like, in real time, we'll figure that out. Maybe do an Instagram live or something.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But thank you guys for being here. And yeah, onestepdeeper.com or onestepdeeperpodcast.com. I'm going to get that one of these days. One Step Deeper Podcast on Instagram, One Step Deeper Podcast community over on Facebook, and coming in January, the podcast. It's here, guys. I just talked to my web guy today. He's uploading it to all the podcasting formats as we speak. So good stuff is happening. Yes, I know, Brittany, you've got an audio show, a video show, and a partridge and a pear tree. Okay, that was last week at Christmas, but you know what I'm saying. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
All right.